we have wheels on the ground, and there's nothing holding it up. It's amazing. Probably the first time the car has been on wheels in a very long time. So, since the last video, I've welded the majority of the holes that I wanted to weld shut. And all of the reinforcing the frame, that's all done. So today, what I want to do is I want to make this pipe go to there. So what I have to do that is I have a flexible coupling, which I found out it's literally just a bellow type coupler or flexible joint, whatever you want to call it. And it just has this stainless braid over top of it, which is kind of funny. It's funny because the bellow type flexible joints, they cost like double what these do. I mean, this is actually a cheap Chinese TurboFlex, quote unquote, coupling. It was like $12, but you could cut these spot welds on here and take all the braid off of it, and you'd have an exhaust bellow. So kind of funny. But what we're going to use to do that is the intercooler came with a bunch of stainless steel bends and whatnot, like this. So we're just going to use these. We want to keep it away from the intake, so we're kind of going to snake it out away from the intake and then back straight, and then intersect with this tube. So we want to kind of keep the heat away from here, then we don't have to run a heat shield. And I want to get that done, and then I want to shoot a little promo video. And oh, the other thing we've started to work on is the rear suspension. So we have these end links that we bought cheap at a flea market, and then these are the factory these bolt on, and that's where the rear suspension bolts onto the car. So we're essentially going to take those and make them into front end link location points. And then we're going to run these guys. They are a set of skinny Pro Stars on the back, kind of opposite of what you would see, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make a parallel 4-link with these bars with a track locator, and we're going to use these Mitsubishi Galant spindles or hub assemblies, whatever you want to call them. These are 5 on 4.5, which match our wheels. So match up to our wheels, but they have this weird step in them. So what I did was I machined, and I'll show some video of me doing this on the next one, but I made this, we want to run these super lightweight drag rotors because they're super lightweight and it's a drag car. And we're not really going to use these to slow down because the back brakes, if you put any kind of pressure on them, they basically just lock up because the tire difference is so great and they don't really have a lot of weight on them. So I took a brake rotor, and basically you can see I'm starting to do it on here, but this was a brake rotor from the Cadillac, from the front suspension. So I took a brake rotor and it's literally just a brake rotor that cut this rotor part off where your brake pads ride, and then bored the hole out to this larger diameter so that it would meet up on the Mitsubishi Galant hub assembly, and then got rid of all this junk out here. I made this guy. So basically using using what we have rather than buying a piece of material, you know, because we're not going to use those brake rotors and we can't turn them in for cores, and brake parts are free to the budget anyways. Well, stock replacement, and it just goes over top of here, and it allows our brake rotor to sit on top. Give me a second. There you go. So that sits on top, and then I'll 3D print a little hub-centric spacer so that it matches up to this diameter on the inside and matches up to this diameter on the outside. It doesn't have to take any load because the friction of the material will keep it centered. It just literally needs to hold the brake rotor centered until you get the lugs tightened down. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And then something that's really cool, in my opinion, as I am a controls engineer, you'll notice that it has a external speed sensor. So it would be fun to employ that someday, because what's really neat about a front-wheel drive car that you kind of lose on a rear-wheel drive car is the front wheels never leave the ground. So on a rear-wheel drive vehicle, you have to account for if the car wheel stands. So you potentially don't have good data for the first, you know, however long the front wheels are in the air. And so you don't have reliable, you know, because traction control, it's basically is comparing the undriven wheel to the driven wheel, the wheel speeds. And if your driven wheel is moving faster than your undriven wheel, then it knows that this is spinning. It's not getting traction. And with a rear-wheel drive car, if your front wheels, which are undriven, come off the ground, they aren't spinning. The back wheels are. So what they typically have to do is they have to look at like RPM spikes, and that tells you that it is losing traction until the front wheels come back on the ground, and then it can do active traction control. So what's neat about this is those are never going to leave the ground. Those are never going to leave the ground, so you're always going to have reliable data, and at some point we'll be able to do pretty neat traction control with that. And these have these external wheel speed sensors, so I can put a little Hall effect sensor on there, and we can do some pretty neat traction control stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, but let's get started on this exhaust pipe. All right, time lapse. so we knocked it out. So I'm decently happy with my welds. You can see I got the flex joint in there. Lots of space between the intake. You can see I got this weld in here. I had the tungsten out pretty far to get that guy. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that came out. So next step is we have to work on the rear axle. So I'm gonna probably do that in the next video. This is all we're gonna get done for this one, and catch you guys in the next one.